Welcome, everyone, to episode 140 of the Looks Like a Movie podcast. My name's Kevin. I am here with John, who is a friend of the pod, a friend of mine, and a long overdue guest. We do not have Doug and Owen this week. Both of them are sick and not feeling well, so you could wish them well in the comments, and you could thank John for stopping this from being a solo podcast, because I don't think anybody wants to listen to just me talk. But we are talking about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein this week. We are talking about Die My Love, and we're talking about Predator Badlands. John, welcome to the pod. You want to get us started with what you've been watching?
Yeah,
And say
absolutely.
hi?
Great to be here. Very long overdue. Of course, always sad that both Doug and Owen are not here. But you know
Yeah.
what? Of course, uh, Kevin, we all know that an ASMR of just your voice as solo talk would be a Patreon exclusive. I think it is. We all know that. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, couple things I saw. I feel like outside of like the things that are being talked about, Die My Love and
Mhm.
Prayer Badlands and Frankenstein. I saw like a while ago, but like it still has like still marinated on to me. So I feel like I've been hearing
Yeah.
talk about it within the past couple of months, weeks, whatever. Um, I feel like nobody. I feel like everyone with Letterbox doesn't actually use the feature of watching movies on their watch list anymore, unless I
Mhm.
am crazy about that, and that's a complete disbelief. But I actually watched something off my watch list, which was
Nice.
David Fincher's The Game. Watched that a few nights
Okay.
ago. My girlfriend's a huge fan of it. Everyone and their mama has been telling me to watch it for at least a year.
Yeah.
I've had it. That was like probably one of the first movies I had on my watch list for like since I joined Letterboxd
Mhm.
so long ago. Loved it. Thought it was hysterical. I think it was really funny. I think it I didn't expect it to be as hilarious as it was. I think the White Rabbit needle drop towards the middle, if people know what I'm talking about. I'm unfortunately spoiling this movie for people who haven't seen it. Great. It's a great movie if you want like more crash out Michael Douglas type of
Yeah.
humor, I guess.
Yeah. It's a
Really
ton of
funny stuff,
fun.
I guess.
I listened to Glenn Powell on the Rewatchables this week talk
Oh,
about the Truman
right.
Show, and they mentioned The Game as like a companion to the Truman Show, and I imagine also as a companion to The Running Man, which we're talking about on next week's pod. So
That's true. I wonder.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun though.
Yeah, for sure. Other than that, I watched Game Night a few nights ago. Love it. And I saw
So
Sentimental
cool.
Value on Friday.
Oh wow,
Loved it.
yeah.
I thought it was
I'm
unbelievable.
I'm
Um,
hoping we get to do a podcast on that here. I
yeah,
don't really know
it's
what the sentimental value rollout plan is. We
I
might not.
which is so crazy because like it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
I was left in I was left in tears. Like it was loved
yeah,
it. It did not expect it to take me away as much as it did.
yeah.
I loved Worst Person in the World, but like I think
Right.
I think a little bit tops it for me.
It's one of those things where you hear people tell you how emotional it's going to be for you, and when so
Yeah.
many people say it, you're like, "Oh, I don't know if that's actually gonna happen to me anymore." That's kinda like I'm seeing Hamnet next week, and
Hmm.
after hearing so much about Hamnet and what even I mean, I cry watching the trailer, so I'm like, "Of course I'm gonna cry watching the movie," but sometimes you just don't know, like, until you get there if it's actually
Oh
gonna
yeah, for
do for
sure.
you what it did for everybody else.
Yeah, and I was like, I was missing every time that I could be able to see it, but I was like, right when for the Friday hit, and I was like, I really wanted to see it.
Yeah,
Unbelievable performances by everybody. Outside of like Predator Badlands, Elle Fanning is phenomenal.
yeah,
Stellan Skarsgård, everyone is great in that movie.
yeah,
Sheldon Trier is unbelievable. I cannot wait to see how that movie tracks this coming award season. If that really
yeah.
means anything anymore, I guess I
Who knows? But we'll talk
who knows?
about it a little bit because one of these movies we're going to be talking about in
For
the
sure.
definitely
For
is
sure.
a big awards contender. I did not, outside of the three movies that we're talking about, watch a ton this week, but I did watch some really good movies and one new release that it was not a very good movie.
Yeah.
That we won't be dedicating a podcast episode. I finally, I guess it's been out for 2 weeks now. I saw Regretting You, the Colleen Hoover adaptation,
Oh yeah.
with my girlfriend, and I was kind of told that it would be a fun bad movie to watch, and what ended up happening in the theater was that instead of having fun, I actually felt really terrible while watching it because it is the movie is bad, which I
Hmm.
expected regardless, but it also just sort of set a standard for the modern teen rom-com that I thought was pretty embarrassing. I'm like, if this is what the average teenage girl has as like their point of reference for a rom com,
Oh, totally.
it's very unfortunate.
I keep seeing that being like marketed everywhere. My sister and my mom are like huge into that, and they saw like the last one. I say the last one is I can't tell you these titles if you
It
want.
ends with us, I believe, the Blake Lively movie.
Yes, I
Yes,
that
I
one.
also watched that
Yeah,
one.
I understand that the books have its market. I don't think those can really translate well to the screen as much as people are hoping, anticipating for. But
Yeah.
I know that's making huge amounts of money, so they're going to be making them for
Yeah,
so
they're
long.
gonna well, they already before this movie, they're playing the trailer. I don't know if you know about this one. They're playing the trailer for the next Colleen Hoover adaptation that's coming out early next year, I believe,
That's so funny.
which has some big stars in it. It has Tyreek Withers in it, I believe.
Oh wow!
Um and Micah Monroe are the 2 leads,
Oh
Micah
wow!
Monroe and Tyreek
Good for him.
Withers.
Good for him.
That comes out early into next year, and then also next year, at some point, Verity is gonna come out, which is the one with Dakota Johnson, Anne
Mm,
Hathaway, Josh Hartnett.
nice. I
Um,
knew that one of them was Josh Hartnett.
so
I did not know which.
yeah, so there's gonna be 2 more Colleen Hoover adaptations next year, and I'm gonna be honest, I if I was a betting man, Verity is gonna make
Yeah,
some money. That
yeah,
is like
100%. It's
I
you have all the stars
yeah.
there. It's also
It's all the
coming off the
stars. It's also, I
heels.
think, her most popular book or her second most popular book, maybe because It
Mm,
Ends with Us is maybe the most popular. But um,
who knows? Might come off the heels of Devil Wears Prada too for
that's
Anne
true.
Hathaway.
Wow, yeah, that's true. Anyway, I also watched two good movies this week.
Yeah, no, please.
I I finally, for the first time, watched Sunset Boulevard, a movie that
Mm.
has been recommended to me endlessly. It's
Oh,
kind
of
of
course.
people are doing a bit of a noir vember, and
Mm,
I'm trying my best to keep up. I don't know
of
how many
course.
I'm going to watch, but Sunset Boulevard I liked quite a lot. I don't know that I am going to tell people anything that they haven't heard already,
Mm, yeah.
but it's a great movie. And then I also watched They Live by Night, which is a Nicholas Ray movie. Nicholas Ray becoming one of my favorite filmmakers ever. This is the fifth movie of his that I've seen. I'm a huge fan of everyone that I've watched, and this is no different. But this one is pretty interesting because a compliment I've seen given to it a lot, and that I think is true, is that it could kind of work pretty well as a silent film because the
Mm,
two lead performances are so good and you
mm,
believe their chemistry so much when they just look at each other or when there are close-ups of their faces
okay.
that you don't even really need to hear what they're saying to just like totally believe the love story, which is fascinating. It's amazing to
Mm.
watch, and the story is great as well. I would really recommend that one.
I don't know if I've
um,
seen that out of his. I know I saw Johnny Guitar recently in theaters. That was incredible. I don't know if
right.
you've seen it, but yeah, it's unbelievable. I know it's been getting like kind of like a resurgence online recently.
Yeah.
It's really good. Really, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
No, Johnny Guitar is terrific. He's a very talented
yeah.
filmmaker. Not a hot take,
Oh yeah. I mean,
but he's really good.
guy that made Rebel Without a Cause is actually a good filmmaker.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. But with that, we could transition over to I would say the biggest movie of this week, though Predator Badlands is going to make the most money. But Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is a potential Best Picture nominee. Guillermo del Toro, beloved probably by many listeners of this podcast and just people everywhere. Frankenstein, obviously, big piece of adaptation. What did you think about this movie, generally speaking?
So I got the full treatment and saw this on 35 millimeter at the Paris Theater, New York. Shout out Netflix's own Paris Theater. It's great if you are in New York listener. Very good theater. Check it out. I know they're probably playing a slew of other stuff. I know they're playing a huge retrospective for Del Toro's work within the coming months. I'm going to like the Hellboy double feature. Anyway, it looked great on the big screen. I don't even know. I couldn't even imagine what it looks like on a home release, which is kind of annoying considering that this is distributed by Netflix. But with that being said,
Yeah.
I really liked Frankenstein.
Okay.
I am putting a question mark. I really liked it because I understand that it's has its flaws, but I feel like it wears its flaws on its sleeve as much as its huge costumes do.
Okay.
It has such huge highs and has huge swings, but I feel like I think it's the back half that might be missing. But I also do love Jacob Elordi is really great in this movie, and so is Oscar Isaac. I think their all performances are great. I think just some of them kind of get lost with how big the movie is as a whole. But again, I love Guillermo del Toro so much, so it's like I'm always so happy with him doing whatever he's. You can clearly tell he was working with Hideo Kojima previously within the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Within the making of this movie, I feel it looks great. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and I will say I could definitely um contrast to your experience. Regretfully, I did watch this via Netflix on my television. And I can't say I had the same relationship to how the movie looks.
Mhm.
But I definitely could agree with some of the compliments that you gave it,
Yeah.
and I think also some of it definitely does fall short for me. Starting with, I think we can first talk about those big performances, or maybe actually let me ask you how what's your relationship to Guillermo del Toro? How big of a fan are
Oh,
you?
I like I still I think he's I think I love him, and so I go back with his movies. I'm on the ride or dive. I am so happy he won for The Shape of Water back when he won Best Picture. I
Yeah,
think that's a great movie. It might not be like my favorite of his. Pan's Labyrinth is still like a triumph, but Pinocchio is still like unbelievable. Like he's one of the
yeah,
guys. Like I feel like he's still consistent in his message of like being creative in movies and like pushing for artistic integrity. I think that's really important for just movies right now, especially with him working under the Netflix kind of um, model. But
yeah,
love him. And I'm happy that he's doing his big gothic work still, especially with given the stuff that was kind of canceled with the H.P. Lovecraft movie that he was going to be making at some point, and then with Silent Hills a while ago. So it's just kind of glad to see that he's still doing like something as big as Frankenstein. I don't know if I would want any more of him just doing, straight
his
adaptations.
projects or
Um,
adaptations. Okay,
yeah, like who
yeah,
knows? Like I still like doing him doing horror adjacent. Like I still like him doing gothic. Just do the same. I do. I mean, just
sure,
do different. I mean,
yeah, I would say I don't have the like strongest relationship in the sense that he is like one of my absolute guys,
yeah,
but I think what you said and what most people feel is that he's essentially universally loved. I
yeah,
think very few people
yeah,
alive dislike the guy Guillermo del Toro, never mind his movies.
yes.
And he has a real reputation as that in Hollywood, which is what led in part to that Shape of Water Best Picture win,
Mm,
and his praise since then. Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned the Netflix of it all, and I think some of my complaints about this movie, whether in like, I think you could trace some of them to that Netflix house model,
mhm,
even if he is this super artistically, integral,
mhm,
integral guy, where it's like,
mhm.
oh, I don't know that his vision was at all affected by Netflix, but there are things in this movie that feel wrong to me where I'm like, oh, maybe that was a Netflix. Who knows? But it's like if it wasn't a Netflix thing, that kind of sucks even more. Um, but
I think they're in
but
a
yeah,
we. I think also a lot of it has to do. I don't want to say like it so reliant because I do like the fact that it did have a theatrical release, but I think in part of it, I like the fact that it did have the two sides of um, Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi. Their sides of it. That being said, I think it should have been an epic. To be quite honest with you,
okay,
my whole thing was I wish it was kind of like uh,
longer.
longer. I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Overture. I like as someone who just I I know there's someone who says make movies shorter as much as I love my 90-minute, tight 90-minute movies. I
Yeah,
also am a huge fan of the big, big movies. Not like the blockbuster big, but just like the epics, like the crazy, huge,
yeah.
monumental scaled movies. Huge
Yeah, it
fan of
falls
those.
more and more out of fashion with every passing
Yes,
day.
and when I think of kind of like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, as someone who's kind of like, I know that people have who are more well knowledge about that novel than I am, so please take my words with a grain of salt. But I think of that as a very personal and very just big novel to grasp. So I'm like, there's huge like lavish imagery. It's just like I kind of wish it had that huge epic scale that I feel like it's kind of almost
Yeah,
times missing. But like even then, I still think it's a blast. Again, I can't even imagine what it's like on a television screen. Um,
yeah.
I think the fact that it's getting a theatrical release helps definitely. Um, Definitely, I hope it.
Yeah, but that Netflix theatrical release does sort of fall short in terms of accessibility. I wonder if
Mm,
with other projects they might make certain movies more accessible, but, I mean, this is what you'd imagine would be the kind of movie that they would give a full
right,
2,000 plus screen wide release to, and
right.
that didn't seem to be the case with this movie. So I don't really know what kind of movie needs to be made at Netflix for them to do that. It seems just unlikely that that would happen. And
Mm,
yeah, watching it in my room was not my favorite viewing experience. It's funny because you mentioned that you want it to be longer, and I think a lot of people have complained about the movie being too long, and I think that's just a complaint you're gonna hear more if people are
it's
watching
okay.
it
No,
in their rooms as
no,
opposed to
trust
in a
me.
movie theater. No, and I'm not saying that that's a
No,
problem
yeah,
I have, but, I think that you're always gonna feel the length of a movie more if you're watching it on the TV in your bedroom rather than a
yeah.
movie theater. Um, so that's one problem with the Netflix model. I think my big problems with the movie, um, come down to one, the writing is interesting.
Mm,
um, I think this is maybe the place that I'd like to dissect the most. And similar to you, I'm not going to act like an expert on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein,
mm,
but I'm familiar enough with it, and and I did read most of, if not all of it, quite a while ago. So who's to say
yeah.
what I remember? But I I think what this movie goes for is a real Guillermo del Toro approach,
Mm,
which is fine. This is clearly a guy who loves the material, and he's a guy who's made an entire career out of loving monsters, and
mm,
so naturally he's going to show some sort of kinship to the character portrayed by Jacob Elordi.
mm,
But yeah, I think that the movie really like isn't interested in getting into any of like the nitty gritty, being like complex in an interesting way.
mm,
It's very like the conflict stems from his version of the monster only really having
mm,
issues with Frankenstein, like Oscar Isaac directly. And so to me, I don't feel much conflict throughout the runtime of the movie because
mm,
nobody ever seems to be in danger other than Oscar Isaac.
right.
Um, it's either like Oscar Isaac is in this abusive father role that Guillermo del Toro
Mm,
puts him into, and then like people are, like he just really makes you care for this monster,
mm,
and there's not much gray area involved. And I just kind of want more gray area personally. I
oh, for
don't think that
sure.
that's
Yeah.
like the best way to tell this story, is to just, of course, in any interpretation of Frankenstein, you're going to feel some sort of sympathy for the monster,
Mm,
but that sympathy is supposed to be complicated, and nuanced. And this story kind of just like removes that. The only time he really does harm to anybody else is like in very clear self-defense.
mm,
And so you're just kind of rooting for him the whole time.
right.
And I just, yeah, I don't know that that is the best approach to adapting this material, because it just, yeah, all of it just falls flat sort of emotionally to me. And that's not to even touch on the fact, and this is maybe the part of the script that falls more in that Netflix house model,
Mhm.
which is that the script doesn't use subtext at all. It
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
every line of the movie is telling you what the movie is about, which plenty of movies I like also do.
Mhm.
But in this case, I don't know that that works. And also in partnering with Netflix, it's like we've heard and known that Netflix wants characters
Mhm.
to talk in a way that explains to people what is happening so that they could do something else while they have a Netflix show or
Right.
movie on in the background.
So, like, how
And
to
so
like,
when you
conflict
have
of interest.
yeah, and so when you have like the Frankenstein movie and the characters are telling you like
Like
very clearly like you are the monster, it's like that seems like a movie you could have on in the background while
oh,
you're
for
doing
sure.
laundry, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
um, so that's probably, I think, my biggest complaint about the movie is that the script just it's interesting and doesn't make sense to me, and at the same time, people are talking about it as like a potential best adapted screenplay nomination at the Oscars, and I'm like, that would make complete sense
That's
for the Oscars, but
throughout when I was watching people I've been hearing, like, a lot of, like, these, like, or whatever you want to call, a lot of these podcasters for the best picture and everything, worst contenders and everything. And for this, and like, I'm all for Guillermo del Toro always having a may say at the Oscars. That's fine. It's just when I was watching it, I was just like, this doesn't. There's something that's not like I had a great time, but I only think that only great time is a lot of that is being had for people that only experience that in the theater.
yeah,
I feel like that was just a lot of people that I saw that in the theater. That was their general, also kind of feeling too. Like, was just like, wow, I'm really glad I saw that in the theater.
yeah,
Not to say
I've
that
seen
like
that
it would have like
reaction
hindered
for
any
sure.
experience, but like, I don't. There's other than Jacob Elordi, and I would say like acting. I feel like it's very well deserved. The costumes for sure. Score is also great. You have Alexander Desplat. He's like a mainstay for Guillermo del Toro at this point. That's fine. I don't know. It's like that's like when people were complaining about Nightmare Alley for so long, which
Right,
I enjoy that movie. For I haven't
I do
seen it in a
too.
very long time,
Yeah,
but it's,
yeah. No, yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'm curious what your, well, I guess I kind of know your perspective based on seeing it in the theater, but
mm,
the other complaint from my perspective, and I don't even think that this is a big complaint because I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the worst looking movie of the year. It's nowhere close to that. But watching it on my TV, at least, there, and it's not like the whole movie is ugly. I was thinking, in my letterbox review of the movie, I mentioned Wicked, and Wicked is a pretty ugly movie from start to
mm,
finish. This isn't quite that, but
it's
I felt like distant from what was on screen, in the sense that you mentioned Guillermo del Toro being this artist with great integrity, and even recently, like, he made a comment about the ship in the movie, and he was like,
mm,
"Oh, we needed to like have a physical ship
yes,
so that it
yes,
didn't look like it was digitally added." And in the movie on my TV screen, it
yeah,
doesn't look like it doesn't look like there's a real ship
yeah.
there, you know? And so I'm like, you say that, but then the movie looks very phony in that regard. And
That's the
so I
point.
really
Yeah,
struggled with that because there's no like depth, there's no like,
yeah,
you know,
100%.
it's not quite the awful Netflix sheen that you've seen in other places, but it's not that, you
Yeah,
know? Um
it's like
there
something's got to be in the water for that.
Yeah, and there is color. The
Mm,
sets are gorgeous,
right,
and the costumes are gorgeous, and they stand out in plenty of shots. Like those, yeah, like obviously those sets do just do their job
right.
in plenty moments,
Of course,
but it just like a lot of it was
it
like
takes you a little bit out
phony
of
to
it for
me.
sure.
Yeah, it did. And it's not every shot in the movie. There are plenty that I'm just like, "Oh, that looks good." But there's enough for it to be a distraction, I thought. I don't know
Right,
what it was
yeah.
like
I can
either, but
I feel like for me, I granted I saw it on 35 millimeter film. I can only imagine what it looks like on just a regular TCP. But I think for even then on 35 millimeter print, I saw it with my friend Heather, and even then we were saying that it was kind of almost I don't want to say fighting with the Netflix kind of look of it all,
right.
but you could definitely tell there were moments where like if you really looked at it, like if you really sat down and really looked at it, yes, for sure. But
Yeah.
I haven't watched it on my TV screen yet. I probably plan on doing that during the holiday season because I just plan to do
Or,
like
like,
movies and my
rewatching
catch
it.
up with my
Yeah.
family because they're like, "What's interesting for the Academy Awards?" I'm like, "Guillermo del Toro's back."
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there you go. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's something we'll see more and more. It's like, not to compare it to another Netflix movie, but with, House of Dynamite, which just came out on Netflix
I did
pretty
not see it
recently.
yet. So
I saw that at New York Film Festival, and so I got to see it on a screen,
mm,
and I haven't seen it yet on Netflix. The movie's not good enough for that to matter,
right, yeah,
but it's interesting because when you watch a director like that, like a Catherine Bigelow or now a Guillermo del Toro, it's like I do just think more and more with this Netflix stuff, you will see some battle between them trying to be creative and like the Netflix of it all, where there was just stuff in that movie that I was like, this is a Netflix thing,
that's what I was wondering
and
with like Richard Linklater, his with
right,
Hitman and Nouvelle Vague.
yeah,
If I'm pronouncing that correctly. I haven't
yeah.
seen Nouvelle Vague. I'm seeing Blue Moon within the coming like days.
Yeah, and
Um,
Blue Moon is terrific.
yeah,
Nouvelle
I'm
Vague,
very
I
excited.
also have not seen.
I've been very excited. I haven't seen Nouvelle Vague, but I just know that like I don't want to say like he's been saved because he's been in like the festival circuit. I feel like
Sure.
Hitman was at the in the festivals and then got picked up by Netflix. I
Yeah.
remember, I think briefly, but I don't know. I feel like those kind of get away with it rather than I feel like this is a Netflix production. I feel I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because it's big,
Yeah,
it's like
it's a
Nouvelle Vague is
huge
made for a crowd,
yeah for
but
sure.
Frankenstein is made for the biggest crowd.
It made me wonder for sure when I was doing the at least seeing it in theaters. It's not like for Knives Out. I feel like that's total something. I feel like maybe totally a little different.
Mm.
I was wondering for the Greta Gerwig Narnia in terms of how that would look in terms of
Yeah. Yeah,
visual.
well,
Because I know
and
it's like at least impulses at least because I know they're doing that with IMAX as well. So I know that like
right.
wonder how that's going to translate. So
Yeah, that'll be the biggest example of what we're talking about with, like, real artist meeting the Netflix
because I know she was like,
studio
"We
and,
are
like
doing this in theaters with IMAX."
yeah, yeah, but Netflix is like, they will fight you on that
Yeah,
in,
which
like
is
in,
I
like, whatever way they can. Yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, but I definitely felt that while watching Frankenstein. We could talk a little bit about some of these performances that you mentioned.
mm,
Would you say that Jacob Elordi to you was the standout then? Was that your
yes,
favorite? Okay.
for I 100%. I like Oscar Isaac a ton. He's he's a great actor.
Yeah,
I've always been just admiring Jacob Elordi a little bit recently. Watching him recently from like Euphoria. Everyone knows Jacob Elordi now. He's
yeah.
everyone from
Yeah,
Euphoria is like
his
shot up at
ascent to
superstar.
fame has been pretty rapid.
Of course, and like he's I think he's tremendous in this. I think outperforms everybody. To be honest, I think yes, there are big performances, but I think a lot of them kind of do get lost with like how big everything is and how much I don't think it has the amount of time that it could for it to tell this deep story because I feel like it's
Yeah,
moving from one thing to the next so quickly.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because Mia Goth kinda just, like, floats through the movie, for example,
like I feel like she just comes
and I
in.
thought she was really good,
Yeah,
actually.
and I like that
Um,
was the most I always tell people that's my dog, by the way. That's the most I've enjoyed, like, really a Mia Goth performance in, like, anything in a little bit. So it's,
yeah,
like, always refreshing to see that come from something that Guillermo del
yeah.
Toro
I
is
can't say Oscar Isaac was, like, my favorite in the movie.
Mhm.
I don't think he's doing his best work,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of it also ties into, like, what I was saying about Guillermo del Toro's approach to the movie, which is that I the entire time, like once Jacob Elordi showed up, and especially once he got to like be the focus
Mhm.
in the second half of the movie, I thought he was terrific, but I also thought that at his best, he was just doing what Guillermo del Toro asked of him, and
Mhm.
like, there's no way for him to elevate the material because Guillermo del Toro isn't interested in exploring like the complex nature of that character. It's
Yeah,
very like one note in that way, and Elordi is hitting that note so well.
it's
That's
tough
just
for everyone.
not. Yeah, I'm like that's not really doing everything for me. I thought he was so good at particularly doing that. Like
Yeah, of
the
course.
vulnerability he shows, like the emotion in his eyes, I thought it was very good. I just like wish I'm like it kind of sucks from my perspective that they didn't give him even more to do because
Mhm.
I know he can.
Mhm.
And so that that's probably where it falls short for me. Like I said, Oscar Isaac not my favorite. Christoph Waltz is in and out of the movies for a
I
little bit.
I feel like him and Mia Goth were one of those performances where they really come and go, and
Yeah,
like it not for any bad reason. It's just like I they just compared to those two being the focus, the focal point of the movie. It's like those two specifically do get lost because of how much I don't know. There's just so integral. I feel,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and Felix Kammerer plays the, William, Oscar Isaac's
Yes.
brother, who was in All Quiet on the Western Front. He is like a I guess in some ways a rising actor now. I mean, 2
Hmm.
big Netflix projects, 2 movies that
Yeah.
are
Well.
gonna be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. Good for him.
So that's interesting. I don't know that he gets to do a ton in this movie. Even, like, some other big names kinda just come in and out of the movie. Charles Dance, David Bradley, kind of just float in and out of the movie. I personally, it was from my perspective just a Jacob Elordi thing that I was really appreciating, performance wise. But
Still glad
yeah,
that just Andrew Garfield got to do After the Hunt and Jacob Elordi got to do this. I think for me, I after this I turned to my friend and said I'm really glad that Jacob Elordi did this because one I was really happy that cast as this and but if that means that Andrew Garfield got to do After the Hunt, fine, fine by me. That's a huge After the everyone go see After the
yeah,
Hunt if anyone,
yeah. No, I mean Doug had plenty of great words to say about After the Hunt on
big
our
fan, big
episode.
fan.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how Andrew Garfield would fit into this,
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
Jacob Elordi, is
Yeah,
I do think he was the right casting choice
for sure.
in this instance. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the costumes and set as well. Um, yeah, this kind of goes with what I was saying about the script, but as an adaptation, there's a little bit of an interesting conversation to have. Of course, there
For
are
sure.
some creative choices made in the sense that a lot of people have talked about it as this very faithful adaptation. It uses like the same structure as the actual novel. It
Mhm.
opens the same way. It does the perspective change. But yeah, I do kind of stay true to that point I made about it just like shying away from some
Mhm.
of the thornier material that they could have used. Is Guillermo del Toro ever interested in I think this probably just is the vision that he had for the movie. Like I think that's fine that this is his approach. I don't know that he wants it to be something else, and
Mhm.
that's cool
Something
with me
larger, for
too.
sure.
Like I it's just not the most
I
me
you
version of
raise
this
a good point
movie.
of when he's ever shied away, when he's he ever made like thornier or been interested in thornier
I
subject,
mean,
and I think
he is like
like the only thing
got
I'm thinking of like is
making
Pan's Labyrinth, but like even Pan's
sure.
Labyrinth, I
And I haven't seen every Guillermo del Toro movie, so
mm,
um, but and there is like he's fine making material that definitely divides people, right? I mean, Shape of Water was like received by a lot of people as just like a what the fuck
mm,
is this kind of thing,
yeah,
and this is technically no different in that like Mia Goth shows some real love towards the creature,
yeah.
so yeah, it's interesting in that regard. Did you have any opinions about some of the action in the movie I thought was really interesting. I don't know if it's, like, my favorite parts of the movie. There's a wolf attack around the middle of the movie.
I wasn't.
Um,
It's just. It's one of those things where it's so interesting the way he has like action sequences now, or whenever he does action sequences, just because like recently with his movies being like kind of like really touching dramas or like kind of crime capers. I'm thinking like Nightmare Alley and like Shape of Water. So I mean like I'm not thinking in terms of like Blade 2 or like the Hellboy
right,
movies because I haven't seen those unfortunately, but um it's just awkward, not awkward, but just it's strange seeing like a full-fledged like action set piece. Not like it's anything like yeah, anything
yeah.
huge, but you know.
Well, it does the action does lean into, like, some of the gore that I
Mm,
think fans
yeah.
of him would appreciate. It's like there's some, it gets a little gross, which is fun. I I don't know, and again, maybe this is an at-home viewing experience
Mm,
kind of thing, but I thought some of those scenes were pretty tough to look at. I mean, specifically that wolf stuff, I was like, "This is
yeah.
not, looking great." Um, I liked it a little bit closer. Like, I will say if I had to choose, I'd prefer that scene that they open with where he's just, like, throwing people on the ship around and,
Yeah.
like, I think that's definitely better than the wolf stuff, but, in
Reminded me of
general,
like Gore Verbinski's Pirates. I feel in
mm,
like the set dressing. I feel like this
sure,
one definitely swings for the fences of being very Verbinski esque. I've always been like thinking it was been soft pedaling the idea of like this was like this is like if this was made in the 2000s, Gore Verbinski would have adapted this 1000%. It would have looked
sure.
somewhat similar. Um, if it was like in the era of like when Disney was doing like dark in like live action movies. Like,
Right,
but
yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to see that vision. Is there anything, that you wanna add about Frankenstein before we move on to one of these other 2 movies?
I'm trying not to. I don't think I have anything else. Good score by Alexander Desplat.
Yeah,
I think I don't know. I feel like he's always doing really good stuff recently. But I feel like this one I've just score recently. I've been listening to recently. I don't listen to the movie scores a lot as much as I should be. But I feel like his score is just really great.
yeah. Okay, let's move on to another pretty significant release this week. Predator Badlands is a theatrical release. It is part of the Predator franchise. It is directed by Dan Trachtenberg. Uh, what did you that you're coming fresh off of watching this movie
Yes.
just before recording, right? So,
Yes.
what are your like immediate thoughts after
Yeah. So,
seeing?
I literally just came from it. I don't want to say like huge on like quite literally like the I saw Prey when it came out on Hulu that weekend. Thought it was great, you know, and then I didn't see it ever again. I was going to before I saw Predator Badlands, and then totally forgot that this was coming out. And I didn't see the animated movie, so shame on me. I really liked it. I've been a fan of
Okay.
Dan Trachtenberg's like you know, I like how he's trying to do something new with these Predator movies with Prey and this one, kind of being like very silent kind of action movies. At least I'm very glad this is in theaters now that Prey, like people were clamoring after Prey. I think I was saying to this with my friend of mine who we saw with is the equivalent to last year's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is that it feels like it is not it is setting up something it's setting up something larger and bigger and in terms of set pieces in terms of characters emotions and big swings and it's gonna really pay off. But you just know it from this movie.
Yeah.
Not to say that this movie isn't good on it is, but you just know that there's a lot of clean. I don't want to say innocent because that feels like like plays it safe because that feels like it's that like that. It doesn't. That doesn't feel like a great term to use, but it feels like there's a lot of things that I don't want to say like hold it back. But I know there's gonna be huge moments for what they want to set up with future movies with
Yeah. Yeah,
hopefully
and I
this
wanna talk
movie.
a little bit about some of the potential future movies, maybe when we wrap this movie up,
Yeah.
um but
Um,
yeah, I agree that it's clearly setting something up, and and it is establishing a world pretty well, I
yeah,
think.
for sure.
I think the actual, like, Badlands that we're introduced to were pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like,
for
it was
sure.
pretty fun. You mentioned that it kinda, like, has those, like, silent like, more silent action aspects. I think that stuff is really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I think mostly my perspective is that it was just kind of a a a really, like, fun 6 out of 10 action movie. I was
Yeah.
like that there's not, like, a moment that I'm bored. You mentioned Dan Trachtenberg. Not like somebody who I'm in love with, but I liked Prey quite a bit, and I've always liked, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mhm,
I also have not seen the animated Predator movie that he did earlier
mhm.
this year, so, that's a sin as well, but we're not talking about that one, we're talking about this one,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think it's fun. I don't know. I'm curious what you think about the action throughout because I think it sets up a cool world, but I don't know that I was totally on board with it as an action movie until the third act.
Mhm.
um,
I think,
like,
I think that my biggest thing is that it has a hard time within the second act because I feel like a lot of that is mostly going to. I think it's a really start and really good conclusion to a revenge. It's just it has a hard time in the middle.
yeah,
Um, but I also think Elle Fanning is very, very good in this.
yeah,
I really like her in this. I think she should be a mainstay in these movies. I think she's really charismatic and really fun for like these type of movie for this type of movie. But yeah, going back to what you said, the perfect 6 out of 10, very just like not again, very nice, very simple. You don't really think too much. I don't want to say too much about it after, but it just I think for the action set pieces, um, I think they trying to I'm like trying to think because I feel because it reminded me of like an Xbox 360 video
okay,
game
yeah.
throughout it.
I could see that
I
vibe.
like I was like I'm like trying to like the people that like are listening, they will I feel like they will understand what, like or like
Sure.
the last Ronin comic book. Like it feels like
Mhm.
very much um like setting up something very epic on almost like a comic book as like a very issued run, very small scale.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like one of the, like they'll probably do like a predator like within like different worlds of I don't know like wherever, but like I feel like this is like they could do something
Yeah, it's like the
similar.
foundation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy because it makes it seem like because I think again we're all at this point that we're tired of reboots and legacy sequels kind of pandering to the same thing. I think it's just kind of crazy that Predator is having a easy time not doing the whole legacy sequel pandering stuff while Alien is like fumbling the bag as a
Yeah.
Alien Romulus. Like I don't like
It's
it.
interesting because I mean, those 2 are gonna, at some point,
100%.
collide,
Yeah,
they're on a crash course towards each other.
they make it so clear on
So
from this movie that they are going to be meeting up at some point, which I do like,
yeah,
which I enjoyed that they are like that the thought of that happening soon is nice. I
yeah.
really wonder how that's going to play out with how these alien
Right.
content, whatever you want to
And
call it,
I
is
and
gonna.
I will say, as a warning to listeners, we might not dance around as many details here when we talk about potential future movies. We might spoil this movie, so if you haven't seen Predator: Badlands, you might wanna skip this part,
Mm,
um but yeah, eh, as far as, like, this specific movie goes, I thought that the setup early on was really interesting, right? With what is his name? Is it Deck? Yeah.
yes, that
I
yeah.
I think that the way that they establish his story early on is pretty interesting. I think
Mm,
the fight between him and his brother as like a piece of action filmmaking not my favorite thing to watch.
Mm.
I was like, this it's okay. It's like it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird to follow. It was
Mm.
like a little like there were some of the shots I thought were like a little bit too close. I was like, this
I
is yeah,
yeah, I know what
it
you're
was a
talking
little
about.
bit sloppy. Which is that's what I was kind of referring to when we get to the third act later, because there's some action scenes in the third act that I thought were just like really alive. But yeah, I think the setup for his story is interesting. I think where the movie loses me at like achieving greatness is in that kind of middle section, because he shows up on this planet and for a second you're like, oh, this could be very, like it could just be a silent film where
Mm,
he interacts with like the local environment and everything attacks him and he just like tries to survive. And I was thinking, I was like, oh, that's an interesting premise for this movie. And then Elle Fanning is introduced. And quite terrifically. I think she's very good in the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
But as like a piece of writing, I'm like, okay, so what exactly is Elle Fanning going to do? And they give you some details about her character, right? She's
mm,
like there for a reason. She has this sister. Later on in the movie, the sister turns out evil. Like she has conflict surrounding her,
mm,
but and she's also a synthetic, so she's not a human.
yeah,
But from the perspective of people trying to make money, you probably want a human face in your movie
yeah,
and someone speaking English, right?
for sure.
And so it sets up this sort of like cool, like silent action film when he shows up on the planet. And then there's like a character who is the human stand in and is like, and we're going to talk in English. And then she kind of
Yeah,
just like explains a lot of what's going on to you. Which is, it's not the most annoying way to do exposition and blah, blah, blah. And I think it helps that she forms a really good companionship with
uses the
Frank,
crutch,
and then
uses it almost as a crutch. Like, I feel like
yeah,
he goes for the I conceit, premise, concept of being all silent and kinda goes for that
yeah,
swing. And I feel like so does Predator Badlands. I feel like people were like, "Oh, I loved what Prey had to offer. I want to see what future Predator movies can do." And I feel like that goes for that for the most part. I feel like when Elephant is introduced, that's when it kind of like loses that. But I feel like it's so tough to judge that because for me at least, because it's like I think Elephant is great. I
mhm,
wouldn't mind her in future movies. It's just it, it eludes that facade. I feel like the
yeah,
mask kind of unwields
yeah. You're
itself,
watching like a pretty standard
like
Hollywood,
pretty standard
yeah,
Predator like action movie.
yeah,
For the
which is
entire
fine.
time, I was also thinking of the idea of what it's like I don't know if anyone knows the last Ronin comic of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. He's like a ninja. It's like pretty much quite literal. It looks like exactly like what Predator Badlands is. They're
Mhm,
making a movie about it, but that I was just like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if it looked exactly like that? That'd be cool. But it's a cool comic. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I just think it's so interesting to see that they're taking how like where they're taking both Alien, Predator, and Planet of the Apes, and just like the way those three movies function. I know for Planet of the Apes and this, they just act as like movies that open other movies. They
yeah.
just seem to. Not that like that's a bad thing to me because I love
No,
that
yeah,
franchise so
I think
much.
that's fine.
But it's you could definitely tell the other movies are like they're just anticipating the other movies and
Yeah,
almost doing it in a way that like eerily reminiscent of Avatar: The Way of Water. But you
sure.
I was just there's so many strings that thread back to that
Yeah,
movie. But that's again I'm not gonna that's not about that. But I feel like it's such a weird um how they've just been treating these movies since the Disney Fox merger of it all happened.
mhm,
It's so interesting. I'm curious to how it's gonna
yeah.
all play out, considering
And
how
I
many
think I
people.
think Elle Fanning also, like, kind of serves that purpose, right? Like, it's like she does a whole lot of, fleshing out the world
Mm.
building just through what she's describing from like the synthetic perspective, and like establishing why she's there and what all these other creatures are doing and blah blah blah. Like it, in that regard, I do think, yeah, again, and I don't think that that is like my favorite piece of writing. I do think that they, despite that, still establish pretty good like little gang of characters in this
Oh, for
one
sure.
where I'm like every like they the cute little, how would you even describe it, third wheel to their party is kind of an awesome character,
Yeah.
and then by the end of the movie, of course, starts growing a little bit,
Little
and now
space
it's they
monkey.
kind of got like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing going on by the
Yeah.
end of it. But yeah, I think like on that level, like on a character to character relationship level, it definitely succeeds. I just don't know that we need everything explained to us quite the way that it does, but if it makes it, because the, yeah, big middle portion of the movie is, I don't want to say it's not like full of action, but I do think it
Definitely slows
really
down.
ramps up by the last like 30 minutes. Like that's when
Yeah.
a
It's
lot
almost like it's
starts
waiting for that.
happening. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, to
Yeah.
talk about that specifically, I thought, you know, a lot of the, yeah, like a lot of the fighting towards the end of the movie was just way more fun to watch.
Oh, for
When
sure.
they're like sneaking around this like compound, I got whatever you would call it,
Yeah.
this like base camp, and they're sneaking around and having to like, and they're all working together. I'm like, this is what I was kind of waiting for the whole movie a little bit.
I'm
Like,
fanning
I
that
really
stuff
like the
when they're still
setup
working
when we're just
together.
introduced to the planet. I really like the ending when we have like the gang working
Mm.
together. Um, those I think are the like two most exciting parts of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. I also just in I think just Elle Fanning is just a enjoyable screen presence. I also did just enjoy the fact that that sequence when they're like, oh, putting her like in stuff like
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting
yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. I know they're probably gonna go for something in terms of like androids, Wayland Utani, alien
yeah.
lore.
So
But I feel like I think it's one of those things where this movie does not care about any form of continuity and lore or legacy wherever anything fits in any sort of canon, and I enjoy that because I
yeah, it exists on its
it
own.
exists completely in its own separate reality. Because my fear going into it was, did I need to rewatch Prey or need to see the animated TV series or the animated movie to
Movie.
understand
Right.
this? And I'm glad I'm glad I walked away not, and I'm just glad to be anticipating more of
Yeah.
these because it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed like you know these characters. I enjoy like the world that it sets up and everything. So.
Yeah, you can just like enjoy it as its own thing. And that's what I felt as well, because I'm not like super deep into Predator lore. I mean, I've watched a handful of Predator and Alien versus Predator when I was like younger, but I don't
Mm,
have the best memory of it. And I think the entire time you could just enjoy this movie as its own thing, which
of course,
is like, yeah, I really like that aspect of it. But to get to the point you were making, which and to kind of lay the groundwork for listeners, so Wayland Utani plays like a big role in the movie. That they're responsible for the Elle Fanning character, they're responsible for the villain of the movie, and of course they're responsible for the synthetics in the Alien, in the recent Alien movie, specifically in Alien Romulus. David Johnson's character, it comes from the same company that made Elle Fanning's character, and so what it feels like, at least, um, the ending of this movie, uh, the main predator uh, succeeds in killing his father, and then his mother shows up, and so now we have a premise for a sequel in theory, um, and we also already know that a follow up to Alien Romulus is coming as soon as next year, maybe. I don't know if there's a confirmed
Yeah, I
date,
know
but it's
it's
at
in
least been confirmed that it is happening.
I know it's in
Uh,
this such a weird state because I was thinking about this like on my way back. 'Cause I know that it was gonna be Fede Alvarez was gonna be doing it. I don't know if that's still the case anymore. Because I
yeah,
feel like I saw people can quote miss people can please fact check me on this one. I do remember seeing someone saying that they're looking for a new director doing it, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's
yeah. No, I'm
I
pretty
thought that
sure
was
they
the whole
are.
point of I thought that was just the whole point of Alien Romulus was that you were doing it. But
Right, yeah. But we know at the bare minimum level that
yes.
Alien's getting a sequel and that in theory this movie is doing well enough to get the
Mm,
sequel that is promised at the end of this. And then what we'd imagine as a result is that those two meet at some point in a Alien
yeah, yeah.
and Predator uh collaboration. So we know that there is like an outlook into
For
a
sure.
future for both of these
Yeah.
franchises. We don't know what that's going to look like at all, really. We don't have too many details, but I think that that is something to keep in the back of our minds. Is that something that you would be excited for? I guess
Oh,
you said
totally.
maybe not.
I think this was also bound to happen with like the Disney Fox mergers, like these movies
Sure.
coming out. I one way or another, people call them safe and innocent as much as I want. I'm just happy that they're coming out in a theatrical fashion still. Even just watching this new Predator movie, I think was just exciting enough. And I think that these movies just coming back are just great, and the fact that they're trying to at least aim for that sort of like Alien versus Predator nowadays. I feel like it's exciting. I just wonder how Alien is just gonna be doing that. I feel like
And I wonder who would direct it.
me too, because I'm
Like, it's like,
because
would Trachtenberg be the one directing the Alien vs. Predator movie, or would they
I
get
was
somebody from
wondering that
the
because I'm
Alien
just like
side of
I would
things?
love that. I one of
Yeah.
them, yeah, but I'm so interested.
Yeah.
I'm very just interested in like the track record of this is where this is gonna go. Just because it's uh how very soon every like both Predator the animated movie and Romulus came out, and hopes to promise the sequel and a Romulus sequel. They're definitely just aiming towards something that's they're definitely keeping the back of our minds for audiences, but it's not in the way that it's like, oh, you have to know right now this moment we are setting up a cinematic universe. I think just them doing nice little Easter eggs is fine. That being said, I would still love a trilogy capper to Ridley Scott's Alien trilogy.
Yeah.
That is my one
Yeah,
plea to
let's talk about the real
the
priority.
real priorities lie of a Prometheus Alien Covenant. They are one of Ridley Scott's better movies. I will argue with any form of wall on this one. Alien Covenant is unbelievable, unbelievable movie, and
I
the
love
fact that that movie
that, yeah.
does not get a sequel is criminal. But I think, but Disney still has time. They still and Ridley Scott is still wanting to make movies. You can not work on that Bee Gees movie, and you can just work on that. You would love to, but
Right.
I understand that Disney wants to go in a different direction with they don't like to go in the philosophical route, which I get. It's just that there I feel like with Alien, there's always just that level of subtext because of how like crazy the like in movies past they've always just reached to these philosophical heights, so it only makes sense for Prometheus and Alien Covenant to open that gap. So the fact that Alien Romulus kind of removes that and just kind of just does like, yeah, I'm fine with doing with what it goes for. It just once it reaches a level of, oh, we're just doing the same thing kind of over and over again, that's kind of when you lose it for me. And for a
Right.
franchise that's been always been pushing the needle a little bit, I for prior to online discourse that people think that this movie sucks. I think Aliens is great. I think people think that Aliens is not good are wild people. But that Aliens and Alien Three have always been pushing the needle for these movies. Same with those. I'm just shocked that the now end result is where Alien Romulus and now the show. I haven't seen the Alien Earth, but I
No, I
just
have
talked with someone
not.
who said it wasn't that good, which I feel like was the general consensus too. It just that's crazy that this is the end result from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wonder what I guess I don't know what the consensus is on the show because I mean, plenty of people who we're friends with, I think, who would have watched it are not loving it, but
Yeah.
I think generally people probably liked it a good amount. I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, that's the thing with stuff like this is like, of course, even with Predator Badlands, I'm not the highest on this movie, but people are loving it. I mean,
Yeah,
people
me
are
too.
having a great
I'm
time.
totally with you.
Yeah, I don't know. So these movies will find plenty of success. Our third movie to touch on before we get to some news is Die My Love, the new Lynn Ramsey movie. This is a significantly smaller movie than the other two, but definitely deserves some attention. Lynn Ramsey, a filmmaker who I've seen two other movies from. I don't know what your relationship to Lynn
Yeah,
Ramsey is.
I've only seen, Morgan Caller and,
Okay.
um, You Were Never Really Here. I love You Were
Those are
Never
the
Really
2 that
Here.
I've seen as well,
Yeah,
so
You Were Never
it's
Really
one
Here
of
is
the main.
I think is so, so good.
Yeah,
When
I
the movie
adore
came
that
out, I was
movie.
obsessed
Um,
anyway, but
I adore You Were Never Really Here. I think Die My Love is definitely much closer to Morven Caller in terms
mm,
of, how it's structured and just, like, its approach in general. Um, it's an interesting one. It received a D plus cinema score, I think. I don't know you saw this in a theater as
I
well.
did see that, yeah, I saw it in a theater
How
at,
many people were in your theater?
um so I was in like kind of a crunch because I actually I wanted to see this because I do really like Lynn Ramsey and I do really like Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson. Just
Mhm.
as actors, I feel like everyone can say the same thing. They're one of our best actors of our generation currently,
Yeah,
and I'm just glad that Jennifer Lawrence is doing like auteur driven work still. Um, in my theater, I saw this at 10:30 in the morning.
okay.
So there is kind of no one there, but also
Nice.
definitely walkouts for sure.
Yeah,
It's not like the type of people that were like, "Oh, this is like Katniss and Edward Cullen fanfic." No, it was
yeah.
like couples that were there, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting because I had the same experience where a couple sitting next like, not directly next to me, but, like, further down my row, they got up during the movie. They were, like, a younger couple, and I was like, the movie
yeah,
definitely I could see how you might see a trailer for this movie and be like, "Oh, this would be fun to see as a couple," or, like, "This could be,
yeah,
like, a little, like, hot
yeah,
and steamy," and it's like, that's not the movie that this
yeah,
is.
100%.
Um, so that's interesting. Yeah, I could tell that there was a general distaste for the movie in my theater, it seemed. I
Mhm,
don't when the lights went on after the movie, it seemed like everybody was pretty disappointed. Um, I will say, and I think you will agree,
mhm.
I liked this movie
Yeah,
quite a lot.
I think people have been. I also have been seeing a lot of people also been a little bit too hard on this movie. I understand for a lot of good reason, and I think my main reason goes for the idea of it almost feels like a little bit too much like it's spinning its wheel of the same thing of its like main central core theme all the time, almost like
Sure, I
almost
get where
like
you're coming from.
we have woman under the influence at home, and
Yeah, I think that's a worthy
I
thing
hate
to bring
calling that
up.
comparison because that movie is
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, but
No,
there's
it
at times where I was just like, okay, I feel like I've seen this before, and listen, Lynn Ramsey is a great filmmaker. There are moments of that are just great. I actually, when people are like, this movie's a comedy, I actually think this is a comedy more than it is kind of
It
drama.
it's funnier than my theater's reaction was to it. I wish other people were laughing like I was.
I was scolded
It's a
for my
funny movie.
laughter, but I
Yeah,
understand why because of
I think
early
I
life.
think that's maybe one of the points where and again, it sucks to have to make the comparison, but it's very clear when you're watching it that it is just, Lynn Ramsey's Woman Under the Influence.
Mm,
I think some of that, like, comedy is really maybe what sets it apart a little
mm.
bit. That movie is so depressing,
Oh,
and
for
this
sure.
movie is equally not easy to watch,
Yes.
but it definitely
It goes for its,
creates a
like,
little something with
bigger
the comedy.
theatrics almost,
Yeah,
even for, like, a
um,
story that's as, like, very dour as this one.
yeah,
There's, like there's just, like there are character moments that I'm just like, "I'm sorry, that
yeah,
this has to be a little bit cartoonish here." I thought Jennifer Lawrence was incredible. Speaking of performances go, Robert Pattinson's great. We all know that, but I think really the standout is Jennifer Lawrence here.
Yeah, they
Um,
definitely also I my perspective on the movie a little bit prior to going into it was that it would be more of like a 50-50 share. I didn't realize quite how Woman Under the Influence it would be, where this is
mm,
just like this movie is Jennifer Lawrence's playground. Like she is really like
mm.
Robert Pattinson's just kind of there, and when he's there, he's doing great. But like this is a
He's
movie
taken like
for
kind of a
her.
back seat.
Yeah,
There's like
uh,
times when he's coming in and out of rooms because I feel like it's just the camera to watch Jennifer Lawrence act, and she's great. Like I feel like it's at its best, like it really is Jennifer Lawrence acting like an animal on screen. And I think that is
yeah,
pretty unshakable to watch. Viewing wise, when I saw Mother in theaters at 15 years old, that was kind of unshakable. So it was like kind of
yeah.
the eerily similar because it was just like
Right, it brings you
one of
back.
those like weirdly unshakable performances where it's just like wow, that's very like hostile and just like like just heavy performance.
Yeah, and
Very
I still haven't seen Mother, actually. I'm
great.
curious what I
Yeah,
would
I think it's great. I know a
watch.
lot of people have like
Yeah, that's a
conflicting.
really divisive one.
Yeah, I don't even like Darren Aronofsky that much, but I think that movie's great. I think she is the one to watch for in that movie, even Javier
Yeah,
Bardem too. But I think she's good, as good in that as she is in here. I'm just glad that she's getting a resurgence recently with like this and No Hard Feelings of
yeah.
recent. Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah, she'll
again
be
she's a
back
great
in.
actress, so I'm glad
Yeah,
that
she's, she's one of the movie stars of our generation. I mean,
yes,
she is, like, um, such an important actor and so talented, and I think it's all on display here. I think Lynn Ramsey's talent is,
Hmm.
like, kind of undeniable here.
Oh
I
for
don't
sure.
maybe I'm crazy, but I think the approach to the movie is interesting, like, stylistically, and formally, like, the way that they tell the story is kind of
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, but and then even just, like, uh, like, looking at the movie, Seamus McGarvey, who shot the movie,
Mhm.
like, they're and paired with, like, Lynn Ramsey's choices behind the camera, there are just, like I thought so much of this was just amazing to watch. Like
Yeah.
there's a scene where she goes out at night and travels to another house
Mm.
and like you see the house like the shadows and I'm like man, that stuff is good. And then also like even when they're first moving into the house and you see the like light coming in through the door and you see the way like the colors and the hat like the actual set, I was like, this is a gorgeous movie. Even when the camera is kind of just moving through the grass, right? There's
Yeah.
like a lot of scenes where she's an animal and the camera is kind of just like
Mhm.
following through the grass. I'm like, this is really good stuff. Like this is stuff that you're not gonna find anywhere else.
There's I think that a lot of the moments with the house, um I also kind of like how in the back half you don't really see the father kind of or Robert Pattinson change that much, so it's kind of like the big reveal of like, oh he finally changed. Sorry if I'm spoiling this.
No, yeah, we'll spoil this movie as well for listeners. So,
I'm also not thinking anyone is going to see this past the second weekend. This is out. Um,
sure,
but anyway, when he finally reveals that he painted the house and has changed as a person, um, I, I thought that was a crazy reveal just because wow,
yeah,
like she
yeah,
she like the amount of impact she thought she had on the house versus like him is I don't know. I made everything come full circle.
yeah,
Again, it is such a dour performance. I feel like it's such a performance heavy. Everything falls upon her. Definitely is like written for her. It's funny I watched that alongside Sentimental Value because like it is a movie about roles being written for people, and I feel like this was like the same thing. But
right,
it's yeah, I
yeah. I even think there's some good supporting performances as well. I thought Sissy Spacek was just like amazing every second she was on screen. I
yeah.
thought Nick Nolte was like really good. Like Keith Stanfield kind of is in way less of the movie than I thought he would be, but but it's always a pleasure to see.
I did not know he was in this movie. I like when like genuinely when he was on screen, I was just like, "Oh wait, when was
Yeah.
he supposed to be in this movie?" Yeah, he's in way less of this movie, and I feel like I not that I want to see anything more because it's like I feel like they you can't
They go
really
after what matters, yeah.
yeah you can't really do anything more with like what his character is supposed to be for
Yeah. Well,
her.
in a way you can. I think it's interesting. One of, like, the probably the big complaints you can make about the movie is on the character level, where there is just, like, not enough established about the
Yes,
characters and their
yes,
relationships. They are almost kind of like I think you could make the complaint that a lot of the characters are pretty, like, hollow shells,
yes,
just,
yeah,
like, they exist for more of, like, this is what the movie is about in relation to the Jennifer Lawrence character, and then everything else is just, like, not that interested in
right.
character. I don't know that that bothered me too much, but I think you there's definitely a version of someone else making a movie like this that would
Mhm.
be more interested in character.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because I kind of like this approach.
Mhm. Me
So
too. I like how
I don't know
very
if you get
abstract it
that.
felt, especially with, like,
Yeah,
this very, like a lot of, like, its use of time, I feel, and, like, in structure, I feel like just very interesting, just seeing how they, like, they met and, like, their marriage and everything. It's just so interesting, like, for, like, we've seen dramas play that like that out all the time, but it's like I feel for something like taken as such an abstract approach feels refreshing, but also like again unyielding to see that come from like a vision like that.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. No, yeah, I just yeah, I really like them. It really affected me on like on an ideas level as well because
Didn't expect
um
Nick Nolte.
it's yeah, Nick Nolte.
Did not expect that.
Eh, it's interesting how he fits into the movie. I think there's a couple things that are interesting because it's like obviously the movie is most applicable to this idea of her postpartum depression, right?
Mhm.
And like what she like her, the depression that Jennifer Lawrence faces. But I I think it's also, like, kind of an incredibly relatable movie in the sense of, like, just existing in
Mm,
the world with other people and,
you're
like,
just bored.
people perceiving you, and yeah, and you get bored and you and it's also like, it's like, "Do I exist to these people?" I think that's an interesting line of thought to follow and the way that the movie kind of, like, flows through that idea of, like, notice me
Yeah,
kind of
for sure.
is yeah, it's like it's relatable and it got to me in a way that I didn't think that a movie that on its surface I quite literally can never relate to. um I found myself relating to a lot of it. I think is interesting.
Yeah,
um
I think it tells a story well past the centralized thought of um, her depression from
yeah,
when we were a child.
yeah,
But I also think that's like I know that's like it's whole point on that, but I also think I'm glad it was has more to say on his mind. Um,
yeah. Yeah, this is it's interesting. It's again, and it goes back to that like reaction where it's like hard movie to recommend because
yeah,
lots of people really didn't like it, but
I
and it's a
my
weird one. I get it.
I was seeing my girlfriend immediately after, and she was like, because she wanted to see it because of J Law and Robert Pattinson. I want to see it because I love them. I also was like, oh, new Lynn Ramsey movie. But also, she's like, oh, would you recommend? I was like, I don't even know. I really don't know. Because I was like, I think you might get a, I think you actually would like it. You might get a kick out of it.
Sure.
I say I don't know.
I
Just like in the common person, I don't know. It's
I
really
think we know that the common person doesn't like it, but I think
totally
that
totally
most listeners of this podcast could enjoy something like this. I would say
yes
don't see it on a date.
yes
It's not a
1000%.
feel-good movie, but it's weird because it's not a feel-good movie, but it is funnier than you'd imagine, and, like, there's some humor even in the stuff that I was saying and, like, in relating to some of this stuff where, like, there are just funny moments where you're like, "Yeah, dude, I get it." Like, you're like, "It makes sense to me." So
Can I
that's
can I
interesting.
can I do one? Are we spoiling this?
Sure. I mean, we've danced around them, I think, pretty well. But if you want to spoil something, you can say something, and listeners can
Yeah,
cover their ears if they haven't watched it.
there's something about a dog. As a
Yeah.
dog person, it was
Yeah.
upsetting. But
Yeah.
in the moment in the theater happened, I'm sorry. I may have had to gut laugh because that is real. That is real. That but
Yeah.
sorry. But
Uh,
it is yeah, I thought that was hysterical. I thought that part was so funny. But in those moments like that, like I get and like not to go to like their like press and how they're covering this movie, but like I really like Jennifer Lawrence how being like this blunt attitude with Robert Pattinson, like even just like their like demeanor towards just each other and just like it did not feel like they were acting just like characters. It just like the two of them. Could just be that they're huge megastars, maybe, but they're just seemingly very convincing for both of them. I feel
yeah.
both performances, but yeah,
Yeah, the dog thing of it all is, yeah, it was tough, but I was like, "I know this is gonna happen," you know?
yeah,
I was like, "This is
yeah,
gonna be where things are gonna start to spiral," and you kind of know, and I've only seen 2 Lynn Ramsey movies, but it's like, she's not gonna, like, pull a punch in that regard.
mhm.
Like, other directors would make you think that the dog's in danger, and they'll be like, "Oh, we're not gonna kill a dog," and it's like, "No, I mean,
No,
she's
yeah, I
like,
actually
it's like,
do.
if you're presenting us the dog, she's gonna kill the dog," and so,
Yeah.
yeah, that it was interesting.
I don't know if you still see on
Because
Letterbox, but there is a frame. If you change your backdrop, one of the
oh, okay.
backdrops is Robert Pattinson digging the grave,
Oh, wow.
and it's like as like a review like backdrop. Whatever. I think that was really funny. But
Yeah. No, yeah, it's interesting how I think you kind of successfully perceive some of the comedy that maybe people are missing out on
yeah,
seeing, uh,
I seen that.
especially
I
the major
saw a
movies,
TikTok
but
immediately after that was just like, you go see the new J Law, Robert Pattinson rom com, and just like have them like screaming over each other. And I'm just like, and I was just like looking at the comments. I'm like, yeah, I don't think people will really get that. Which I'm like, you know, totally understand because it's just on its
yeah,
on
no, I mean, there's a lot that is that goes
incredibly
against the grain
dour.
here. I mean, yeah, it's a lot working against you if you're somebody who goes to the movies 3 times a year,
Oh
this is not quite the movie for audiences to love, but I really liked it, and I would really recommend it. I think it's one of the best movies of the year, and
yeah,
I and
for
I
sure.
wanna watch it again, but I say that, but it's like, it's an undertaking, this movie. It's not quite like put it
Yeah,
on.
it's not for
Um,
the faint of heart for sure.
yeah, yeah. But those are all 3 of the movies that we're covering this week. We're gonna talk about some news before we wrap up. I want to remind everybody to share some feedback if you like listening to us talk about any of those 3 movies by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, by rating the episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and following us at the links in the description. John's links will also be in the description. You can maybe shout yourself out a little bit at the end of the episode, but let's talk about some of this news because there's some big stuff this week. We'll start with this one because it's a star-studded cast. Jessica Chastain, Josh Brolin, Don Cheadle, Mikey Madison, Charles Melton, and Chris Pine will star in Elijah Bynum's My Darling California. The crime thriller follows how one crime intertwines the lives of a TV host, his restless wife, a country music idol, 2 crooks, and an ex-con. This is the director of Hot Summer Nights and Magazine Dreams. Yeah, big names attached to
Yeah,
this one.
it's
Kind of seems like a Pulp Fiction-y, like,
yeah, like
know,
intertwining stories for
yeah.
sure.
Um,
It's crazy to see Mikey Madison take on roles since Nora. I know everyone's probably thinking the same thing since she took Nora of like, what will she do next? It's crazy to see where she's going from the social network to this. This seems really exciting. I mean, I didn't really dig Hot Summer Nights when I saw it when it came out, but that was like so long ago. Um, I'm willing to give this a shot. I'm thinking more people are too, considering the that type of plot structure seems to work with people. I'm just thinking in terms of how weapons did really well for people and people really liked weapons.
Yeah.
Just hopefully this works out. Now I'm just hoping it's not one of those things where just has a big cast and just not executed well
Yeah.
on a script
I
level.
I will say the cast is so big that it's like, uh, it gives me some faith because, this is a director who's made 2 movies prior to this, and most recently Magazine Dreams because of the, Empire
Oh,
Majors thing was kind of, like,
right.
buried, and
That's
that's a
Magazine Dreams.
that's a difficult thing
Yeah.
to bounce back from,
Mm.
and so, in theory, if you got 6 huge names attached to this project, it's like, this script must be pretty good. I would think. I don't know. But then again, it's like they got huge names attached to who knows, like Argyle or whatever. It's like, I mean, people could get bad movies made, but in theory, I'm like, this is a nice
Yeah.
cast, and that's a cool premise. Like
Yeah.
I would hope that the script does it justice. Yeah, I don't know. It's just big names to pull for a guy who
Which
made
is it any up for studios currently? Any studio behind it yet, or not?
I'm sure there is one, but it's not something I included in the
Yeah.
news,
No.
but I'm
Yeah.
sure you can
Yeah.
find one for
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
That's gonna be interesting to look out for sure.
yeah. No, yeah, I definitely wanna hear more. Here's an interesting, piece of IP. Jennifer Lawrence speaking of Jennifer Lawrence, reveals that she and Emma Stone are producing a Miss Piggy movie with Cola Scola writing the script. She teases that she thinks that they have to, act in it as well. So I don't know which one of those two would play Miss Piggy or if they would just be side characters.
Mm.
But and Cola Scola obviously rising in fame and an incredible amount recently, and now
Mm.
writing a movie produced by Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone. That's interesting. I definitely want to hear more. I'm not like,
I'm very.
you know,
I figured it would be time for people that would be coming to the idea of doing like more Muppet movies, but with like, I guess more like, you know how Cruella was like, I don't want to say the female Joker because that's not really correct, but the
sure,
but like in the same vein of what Cruella was for Miss Piggy, that feels kind of like
sure,
what it seems to be going for, which I think is awesome because I think that it is the type of movie that the Muppets kind of need right now. I've been always saying, and I think everyone else agrees that the Muppets are Disney's most forgotten IP. For you, at
yeah,
least one of them. And the fact that as people as talented as Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone and Cola Scola coming off of like Oh Mary now handing off to Jane Krakowski doing it on their current Broadway run is unbelievable. I think that's like genuine lightning that you could ask for. I'm just excited for what the story is going to turn out to be. I know that like it was very rumored to be about like Miss Piggy being
getting
canceled.
canceled.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
which
like a
that
joke
sounds
that Jennifer Lawrence
hysterical.
made. Which,
That
like, yeah, that sounds like fun.
yeah, that sounds so funny. Um, so I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. Here's another big piece of IP. Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are set to reprise their iconic roles in a new Mummy movie at Universal. Um, this is Mummy is not something that I have like some crazy attachment to from my childhood, but I imagine that the announcement of this project got a lot of people very
Hmm.
excited.
I same here. I'm like I've never seen the other two Mummy movies or seen it with like the Scorpion King. Not like any specific reason, just haven't gotten around to it. I do like the first one a lot with the 1999 one a ton. Very fun summer blockbuster. It's strange that they're doing it now. I know they're doing it with oh my gosh oh, they did The Guest. I think. Oh man, um, I know they do a lot of horror movies, which it's got good names behind it. So good for them. It's just I'm shocked they're doing it
Oh,
now.
Adam Wingard, is that who you're
No,
thinking of?
no,
Oh,
I could be
Okay,
so
maybe
wrong, but
I'm
I yes, I know that there's good names behind it. It's just that I'm shocked that they're doing it now. I guess it's just because now Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser are like in superstardom fame now. That
yeah.
they can do it, which good for them. I again, I probably just need to see the other two so I could probably feel the same affection that people have for the other one. But I don't know. With we have Aren't we getting that one with Lee Cronin coming soon? That mummy movie. I feel like I'm fine with just like the horror directors taking on the monster movies and leaving that
Yeah,
one for its time. I
yeah.
think.
No, I guess we'll see what it turns into, though.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
curious, but, um, excuse me. Uh, we got Meryl Streep and Sigourney Weaver to star in Joseph Ceder's thriller Useful Idiots. The film follows a disillusioned journalist whose investigation into a record-breaking penthouse sale exposes a powerful oligarch and a web of corruption that puts her and her family in danger. Um, Interesting.
Yeah, very
I
interesting. Glad
Yeah.
Meryl Streep's still doing stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm trying to also think of sorry, I'm also trying to think of more to say. But yeah, I feel like those are the type of movies I don't really find myself watching until I do. I'm always
Yeah,
again,
sure.
but again,
Yeah,
always
it's not
glad
something you're, like, anticipating.
of course. Yeah, but again, always glad Meryl Streep's doing stuff still because again, I she's great. We all know that.
Yeah. Uh, Cinematographer Malik Hassan Saeed reveals that Zendaya was originally set to play Io Debris' role in Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt.
I saw that.
Um,
I did see that.
it's interesting. I saw some people react to this by just being like, "Yeah, the movie would have been better." And I don't know that I
I
care
don't
too much to
know.
think about it. I do think that, like, in this very moment, I probably prefer Zendaya as an actor much more than Io Debris,
Mm,
but I don't know that that means that it would have changed the movie at all. I think
yeah,
what's most notable about it is just that it hints at the fact that Zendaya is probably going to collaborate frequently with Luca Guadagnino,
yeah.
which gets me
Like she
because it's like if she
enjoyed
was
working with
meant
him
to
on
be in this
challenges.
right after doing Challengers, then that means that they probably want to work together a bunch.
Mhm.
Um, so that's exciting.
Yeah,
From that's like what I got out of this the most.
when I saw it, when I saw this, it made sense considering challengers, but also I was just like watching. I was like, yeah, I could see like if they wanted something like sharper, like juicier than like for I know like a lot of people saying that they felt a little like distant from a lot of the characters in After the Hunt. I feel like Zendaya might have helped people. I feel that being said, I
Sure.
really thought Io Debris was really great in After the Hunt.
Mhm.
So I really don't mind it, all things considered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a very
Yeah.
loyal defender for that movie. I feel like I understand people's criticisms for that though, because it is a weird one. It is such a weird one.
Yeah, it's unique for sure.
Yeah,
It's it's interesting. Yeah, we've got a couple big casting additions here. Benicio del Toro is reportedly in talks to join the cast of Lee Isaac Chung's Ocean's 11 prequel alongside Margot Robbie and Bradley Cooper. We talked about this previously on the pod. I don't think that Owen and Doug are very excited for this movie. I'm skeptical of what this means, but they're clearly getting some big names attached to it. Benicio del Toro, just the newest of the
yeah.
bunch.
I'm not huge
Um,
on it just because, like, again, I feel like everyone's been saying the same thing. It's not Soderbergh, and like
yeah,
listen, I know a lot of people are very upset with the idea of Edward Berger doing a new Ocean's movie, and a lot of people. I know there was like another Ocean's movie that was also talked about that like didn't happen. But I don't mind Lee Isaac Chung doing this one. I like Twisters a lot. I just
yeah.
I would like him to do something that's not from a franchise.
Yeah.
It kind of seems a little too soon. I like don't get me wrong. I think he could do it. I think he could pull it off. I don't in right now. I don't know. like,
Yeah.
people still know him as he made Twisters and Minari. I think he should go back to just doing something as personal as Minari again, because I think I don't know,
Yeah.
it's
No, I'm in the same boat. I think it's weird that this is, like, the direction that he's decided to go in, but we'll see what he does with it. I
yeah,
mean, I
for
also
sure.
liked Twisters more than the average person,
Yeah.
so
I have
I,
a bumper
you know,
sticker on my car of Twisters. I enjoy Twisters.
that's fun. Paul Dano joins the cast of India Donaldson's The Chaperones for A24 alongside Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson. India Donaldson, her debut, I talked about on this pod a little bit when this movie was announced with Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson. I think um, I'm very excited to see
Hmm.
what she does with some big names here.
Yeah.
Paul Dano is just like another one.
I really like, India Donaldson's Good One. Her debut
Yeah,
was very, very good, from last year.
yeah,
Just it snuck up on me last year. I think that was like this underrated, sleeper hit that people don't really talk about, and I think that's kind of a shame because I
yeah.
think it's a really powerful movie, really powerful debut, really small
And
debut.
really good lead
Yeah,
performance, so
yeah,
that's interesting.
very
Now you
good
have, like,
performance.
this, Cooper Hoffman, David Johnson, Paul Dano, like, I'm
Oh,
sure you will
yeah.
get, some great performances
Oh,
out
for
of them as
sure.
well. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to hear more about this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, threw in 2 pieces of news for some rom-coms here. Um,
Awesome.
these are interesting. The rom-com is at an interesting point right now where it's, like, very clearly, like, mostly dropped to streaming, but I'm like, "Can we see a resurgence?"
Mm,
And I don't know what it would take to really get, like, a proper, like, people are going to watch these in theaters resurgence. I mean, maybe it's the Colleen Hoover adaptations that are gonna
yeah,
push it back into theaters,
unfortunately.
but yeah, I've got 2 rom-coms here. You tell me which one sounds more your speed.
Okay.
Um, first one, Ella Purnell and Pete Davidson to star in rom-com That Time We Met from theater camp co-director Nick Lieberman. It follows a new couple that discovers their unborn child is destined to save the future of humanity. The only problem is they've just had their first date and now they hate each other. And the other rom-com, Annie Murphy and Cooper Raiff will star in All That She Wants. It follows Emma, who, in the wake of a nasty breakup, hooks up with the charming younger Luke, only to realize that she used to be his babysitter.
That's wild.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. The person directing that second one, it's two directors, but one of them previously directed a movie called Plus One,
Mm.
which I think is a very fun rom com. So I don't know. Both of these sound really silly.
Yeah, I feel like
um,
the only resurgence for the rom-com is either go like I love the rom-com, um um with Ewan McGregor and Renee Zellweger, um Down with Love,
Down with Love, right? Okay.
directed by Peyton Reed. Unbelievable rom-com, so simple and so squeaky clean. But it, of course, set in the '60s where it's like kind of plasticky. Maybe a rom-com in the speed of Speed Racer, I think might kind of cure what rom-coms could be and could be setting the standard of what a rom-com could be. I'm talking like insanely affectionate and annoying. My thing with Together, and not saying that Together is a rom com, it is a horror movie straight up. My thing with Together and Companion go the same thing, is that they are romance movies that aren't romantic enough.
Sure.
They are movies are about how these two people hate each other, which I get it. I understand that they like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be
In
you love each other
Companion, that's
so
kind of the point, to be fair.
yeah,
But in
yes,
yeah,
that they love each other so much that they hate each other. That being said, I don't think that they really I don't think they really make their central love for each other as urgent as, especially with how much we know Dave Franco and Allison Brie and their relationship pre-existing.
right. You don't like
You
buy
don't
it on
feel it at
screen when
all.
you know that you should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that being said, my ideas for like a rom-com are like stupid and silly and big and like would cost $500 million. But
See, I feel like this is the problem that I it's like I think if you go small, there's just no audience, but then at the same time, I'm like, that is just what I think we need to get back to a little bit. And I and you could argue that really there is an audience because this new and again, this is like it's a piece of IP, it's a big adaptation, but that Colleen Hoover movie is like very
Mhm.
simple, you know? It is
Mhm.
like it is a rom-com and it's like just in a little neighborhood and it's like it's just
Yeah,
like there's
Allison
nothing
Williams and
flashy
Dave
about it.
Franco.
And
You got not
yeah,
yeah,
no, but it's like people are, people are going to watch that movie.
these roads,
And I
yeah.
think when like you're comparing these two, right? You have this like Ella Purnell, Pete Davidson movie where the fate of humanity is on the line and it's going to be like a little bit sci-fi probably and like a little bit like over the top, and I just don't know that that is like maybe it'll be good,
Yeah.
but this other premise which is literally just like woman accidentally sleeps with the guy she used to babysit is like that's the whole conflict, and that's like a nice like 100-minute like here's a rom-com, here's two people living in this place, and it's like, you know what I mean, it's like it's funny, that it's cute, it like ends up being sweet at the end, and it's like you watch rom-coms from the 2000s, these are small movies, you know, like when the rom-com was at its like height, it's like these are not big
Mhm.
flashy ideas, it's like these are just two people being cute and then like getting upset at each other and then being cute again, you know, and it's
Mhm.
like I think that sounds like a way more simple premise,
Right.
in a way that should just be appealing, like that should in theory be a good movie.
Mhm.
And I would want to watch that one more probably,
Yeah.
because of that. I don't know, but I also just don't know that I need like Pete Davidson rom com right now. Like that's just not.
Yeah.
I think
I feel
Cooper
like
Raiff
Ella
is like
Purnell, though.
very charming in a way that's like super fun, and that other, yeah, it just sounds like a better one. But
Pete Davidson is just it's tough putting him in movies, I feel. For me, I just in the movies I know of Pete Davidson from, it's just The King of Staten Island, and he's just playing himself.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
it's
if he's just playing himself, you know. That's why
it's
like for
funny.
I don't know why he like made like a biopic of himself so early, because it's just like you're alive. You're also acting and stuff. We see you
Yeah,
as like the guy, but anyway.
yeah. No, yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to see what comes out of these.
Yeah,
Last piece of news isn't even really an announcement of news, but just thought I'd throw it in here as a fun little one. Jonathan Bailey named People's Sexiest Man Alive this year.
I saw.
I was looking at this. I was looking at this list of recent Sexiest Men Alive, and it's not my favorite list. And I just thought it was funny, and
No,
I think people. I think people are very excited about Jonathan. Also, like, kind of worth mentioning, a pretty historic
yes.
win because he's the first openly gay man
Mhm.
to win it. But also,
Which is cool.
Jonathan Bailey's having a moment right
Yeah,
now,
and like good
and
for him. Like,
I welcome that moment. I've been watching the show Broadchurch, and
mm,
Jonathan Bailey's in that show, but like much younger, and it's very fun to see him having this kind of like big moment right now,
yeah,
and that at the same time be watching this show where he looks like a teenage boy, you
yeah,
know, like he's like he just got named sexiest man alive, and I'm watching this show
yeah.
where
It's
he
like just
looks
a
like
young child.
prepubescent, you know,
That's
like
like how I
he's
feel.
not that young in the show,
So I feel with like
but
people
it's pretty
watching
sweet.
David Corn Sweat from like the Ryan Murphy shows and being like, "Yeah, he's like
Right.
Superman."
Yeah. No, yeah, it's
It's
interesting, but
yeah,
I
good
think it's
for
a
him.
cool
I mean,
win.
I didn't like. Again, people have. He's in Wicked, huge movies. It's monumental
Yeah.
for him. I think it's just incredibly exciting to see where he's going, especially from where going from Wicked
Right.
to Jurassic to now going back to Wicked
Yeah.
again. Big movies, and he's a big actor. I think just a lot's going to come
Yeah,
from
this
him.
is like a good press award, you know?
Yeah.
It's like this is like a thing where it's like talk about that, like give the person who's having a moment like an even bigger moment,
Oh
and
yeah, for
I think we'll
sure.
just be seeing Jonathan Bailey in a lot of
Yeah,
places.
for sure,
So,
for sure.
um that's exciting. Anyway, before we wrap up, you want to let people know where to find you anywhere
Yes.
on the internet?
You can find me on Letterbox. I'll be placing my links in my Twitter, my Instagram links as well. I do write occasionally on some platforms. Film Speak, Film Inquiry. I'm trying to get my own Substack running. Would not like to soft announce that, but I hate that I
Sure.
just had to. I'm just would like to get back into more writing, just because I've had a huge move from in terms of life. So I'm just trying to get back into writing. But just trying to hard time trying to find the time, but it will come to me. That being said, um, if I'm going to shout out anything, it's everyone to watch the movie this month, Michael Clayton. It is a
Hmm,
great fall movie. Yeah, I was gonna
yeah.
have a T-shirt that had Michael Clayton. That every time I wear it in a New York City repertory theater, I always get at least three people say, "Nice shirt." Which, granted, it is a very nice shirt. It is the opening monologue. If you know what the opening monologue is of in that movie of Tom Wilkinson's character, it's a great shirt. But anyway, great movie. But yeah, that's the last thing I need to shout out. I'll put my links
Yeah.
everything.
Shout out Michael Clayton. Yeah, all of your links will be in the description. Definitely go visit those if you're listening. Next week, episode 141, we will be talking about The Running Man.
Awesome.
So we will see you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye.